For the next couple of minutes, we're going to take a look at the new bill and pay setting options available in WebChartMD. The new bill and pay setting options allow users to enter the bill and pay rates and metrics that drive the financial reports and analytics tools that are available in our new Report Builder module. Some of the key features: it allows you to create multiple bill or pay rates for the same user based on account and dictator and work type, TAT level and document status, and combinations of those. You can create different line definitions with that same level of flexibility and complexity, and you can set bill and pay settings on any one or any combination of 7 different metrics, including by line, by word, by page, by document, and more. You can also bulk set identical rates and definitions for a single dictator or an entire facility. And you can create different line definitions with that same level of flexibility and complexity. Also, you can review and restore previous bill and pay settings via the auditing tool that's built into the help bar. Let's take a quick look at those features. The first thing we'll take a look at is how we can create multiple bill or pay rates for the same user based on different dimensions, both on the bill side and on the pay side. So let's start on the pay side for my MTs and QAs. And let's take a look at Zoe Bailey. As you can see, I'm in settings, and then I'm in line settings. And here, as I choose all offices, I've got the list of all of my staff members. So here's Zoe Bales, and we're going to set a couple of different dimensions. So when we pay Zoe, we're going to pay her on lines based on a line metric, and perhaps I typically pay her 7.5 cents for her work. But now I can drill down and set other dimensions. Let me show you how that works. So let's say that, for example, Zoe also does QA work for me. So when she does QA, I pay her 4.5. And so I'll add that and save. And now I've added this new dimension for her QA work. Now perhaps I also have to pay her a different rate for different type of priorities or TATs. So when she does 4-hour stats for me, I've got to pay her, instead of her normal 7.5, I've got to pay her 8. Now I can get even more complex, and I can begin to build these out if I want. So for example, and I'll remove the settings that we just added, let's say that when she does stat jobs for Carrie Ortho. So here's Carrie Ortho, I load that in first, and then I say 4-hour stats. So it combines those. So when she's doing 4-hour stats for Carrie Ortho only, I've got to pay her a higher rate, 8.5, and I'll make that setting change. Or let's say when she does a particular work type, or report type. So when she does, and I've got the list of different accounts here that she types for. So I'll choose the report type, and it will be the consults for Advanced Ortho. When she types the consults for Advanced Ortho, those files are normally done on a higher TAT. They're typically done on an 8-hour TAT. And when she does the 8-hour TAT consults for Advanced Ortho, I've got to pay her higher. And I can set that setting now, and when I do, I now have all of those different variations presented to me up in my area at the top of my form here. And when I click on them, I can see the different rates. So I click on the 4-hour stats for Carrie Ortho, we have to pay her 8.5. I click on the 8-hour consults for Advanced Orthopedics, and I've got to pay her 9. And so all of those present for me up in the top of the form, and when I click on them, I can see the different rates that I've got to pay. Now, not only can I set different pay rates for those different dimensions, I can also set different line definitions. So for example, when she types the Carrie Ortho 4-hour stats, we pay her on a net 65, But we don't pay her for template characters, we don't pay her for any special character treatments, and we don't pay her for headers and footers. However, for the advanced orthopedic 8-hour stat consults, we do pay her for the template characters, and we do pay her for headers and footers once. So that allows you for that additional level of granularity where you can custom set the line definitions based on every line setting. Now, let's go one level deeper. So, and I'll remove these. Let's start fresh and set up a new pay situation for Zoe. So let's say that for Zoe, when she types for a particular office, advanced orthopedics, we charge, rather than do it on a per line, we actually charge those guys per page. And so I'm able to set a different metric, pages in this case instead of lines, for Zoe when she types for this particular account, and we pay her 45 cents per page. So what this allows you to do then is set both your bill and your pay on different metrics based on the dimension, based on the office, based on the status of the workflow, meaning whether it's a transcription file, a QA file, based on the provider, based on the work type or report type, and based on the TAT level. Now, I can do that for my bill lines as well as my pay. And by bill, I mean what I'm billing out to the client. So let's take a quick look at that. For advanced orthopedics, my providers present on screen, and here's Dr. Harris. Now, normally we bill Dr. Harris 12 cents a line, but there are some exceptions. For her consults, because they're more complicated, we bill her 13.5. And for her stat files, her 4-hour stats, we bill her 15. So just like you can set different dimensions for your MTs, you can also set them when you bill your providers or your accounts. And it can build out with additional levels of complexity, meaning perhaps when we do her discharge summaries, and when we do them on a 4-hour TAT, I am able to bill 16 cents. And so I can stack or add levels of complexity, just like you've seen here, that go beyond just the template or work type and beyond just the TAT. But in this case, it's the template plus the TAT that I'm able to build my definition on. And just like I did with my MTs, I can bill based on all kinds of different metrics beyond just the line. And I can set dimensions or line definitions out separately for each one. So for example, when I'm doing the 4-hour stat consults, we might include the template characters and bill for bold and bill for headers and footers. But when it comes to the discharge summary, I'm not allowed, for a different client, I'm not allowed to bill for templates or bolds or headers or footers. And so those can all be set uniquely now. I'll remove these added layers by hitting the X to remove them. And let's say I actually want to set a bulk group of settings for all the dictators. I can do that. I just highlight all 4 of those dictators, and now I can come in and add my definitions as needed for the client. So I set them up as a net 65 with spaces and with headers and footers. And now that dimension will get set for all of the providers at once. The last feature we'll take a look at is reviewing and restoring a previous setting. So here's Monique Harris, and let's say I wanted to see how my bill rate would be impacted if I included carriage returns in my settings. What I could do is click carriage return and click the Save button, And the system will automatically go through all of Dr. Harris's documents and immediately update the counts for all of those documents so that when I ran a new set of bill reports for Dr. Harris for a given time period, I would see all of the new lines immediately reflected in the counts and therefore see all of my new financial analytics. Now, after I did that, let's say I wanted to go back and reset her settings to a prior setting. I just click my audit line settings, and when I do, all of the different line settings that I've ever set for Dr. Harris pop back on screen in descending chronological order, and I can go back and change my settings to a previous setting. So, for example, if I come back to June 14th, I can see that I had set her settings to a net 65 line at a 12-cent line. When I scroll up to the top of the list, I can see that when I click on that row, I'm able to see my previous settings for Dr. Harris. So, for example, going down 3 rows, I see I had included template characters at one time. Here's my previous setting without the carriage return being checked, and here's my most recent setting at the top with the carriage return checked. So if I wanted to quickly restore all of her documents back to what they had been before I had checked the carriage return as a character setting, I could click that row, click Save here, and immediately all of the documents would be returned to the counts that they were when the carriage return as a character wasn't checked. So the audit line settings tool is a very, very powerful way to allow you to do a quick sampling or study or analysis to see what your bill settings or line settings would yield in terms of your financial analytics and kind of your financial picture, and then restore everything back to what they had been after you had completed your analysis. We'll be doing group training on this particular set of features, the bill and line settings features. But if you'd like one-on-one training, it's available. Just contact us at 877-386-6677, option 2 for our help desk, or support@webchartmd.com.